But I'm glad they helped you. Okay, as I was saying, one of the things also that I did, if you go to your class page, you'll see that I added a new file. Come on. File folder, come on. See, this is why I'm recording my classes instead of doing the Zoom thing, because look at how much it's draining the internet resources of this place. Okay, go to Files. Morning. Do. You'll see a new folder called Course Outlines. Click on it, and this basically is a study aid that I've done to help you. It kind of gives you a Reader's Digest version of the slides. I don't put down everything that was on the slide, but I put down some. It gives you lines over here so you can take notes on it. And basically, you know, I give all my, because I do this for my 1301 as well. You don't have to print them out. But I will tell you that almost every student who gets an A or B in my class, not every student who gets an A and B, but many of the students who printed these out have gotten an A. Very few, but some have gotten Bs. But it is very useful because you're getting so much information. You're like, well, what should I write out? What should I write out? This helps kind of simplify that a little bit, okay? Everybody got it? And once again, if you want to do communication with me, I have no problem communicating with you guys, but it's always most helpful if you do it through Canvas, on Canvas, through the inbox and message system there, because that tells me exactly what class you're in, everything like that. So, hey, what are we going to do? So I know. All right? Now, basically, as we're getting to talking about the Native American tribes here in Texas, did it again. Oh, yeah. And the agricultural revolution, because we talked about some of the primary groups, like the Coetehans down here, the Crankwas right there, the Atipans. Here's where the Caddo are. We're going to be talking about them in East Texas. Here's where the Wichita are. Here's where the Lipan Apache are. And that's where the Humanos are. And actually the Lipan Apache used to be up here, but the Comanche kind of kicked them out. And the Wichita used to have a lot more land over here, but the Comanche kind of kicked them out. So guys, basically in the last lecture we talked about people that were, you know, they'd live in a place for like spring and summer, and then they'd move to another place for the fall and winter, foraging, gathering, hunting, but it allowed you to stay in one place for a longer time instead of just hunting after the herds. And now you can grow plants, which basically came up to us from Mesoamerica. Oh, and by the way, which gender do you think picked up farming quicker? Or which gender do we thank for discovering agriculture? Men or women?
I assume women.
Huh?
I'm guessing women.
Yeah, women. Why women?
They seem more like the ones who would be at home. When I'm used to going out and hunting, etc., would probably be looking for something that is more get food now, whereas the women were often creating clothes, etc., looking for things that would be helpful for the future, creating the tents, etc., and that would be something
Yeah,
more along those
well,
lines.
you're right. Women were around the hearth. They were the homemakers. They had time to look at that. The men that were out, they were either hunting or they were fighting, they were protecting, foraging, having to look for the survival for the here and now. So they were out and they were doing stuff and parties, okay? And the women had the opportunity to do this. And this is where we get, I made the joke last time about how Native Americans love their television. They couldn't get enough of their CBS, corn, bean, squash, and chiles. But basically, now that you can grow things, it's going to cause an agricultural revolution. You don't have to go hunting the big game anymore. Okay? What are some of the advantages of growing corn, beans, or squash?
Less dangerous.
Less dangerous. You're also going to get a heck of a lot more food. Well, what are some of the disadvantages?
Well, I'm not trying to fight you for it.
Yeah, if your land's really good, you got to fight for it. Okay? And not everybody's land is as good as yours. Also, what else?
Takes longer, famine, drought.
Maybe, potentially. What else?
No food in the winter.
Well, that's what you got dogs for. Seriously, they did eat dogs in the winter.
No.
But also they could store it up and everything like that. But also, if you're a farmer, do you just plow your fields and then say, okay, I'm going to Hawaii until harvest time, see y'all later? Can you do that? No, if you're a farmer, you're married to the land. You have to be there. You have to take care of those crops. And as we did point out, you have to fight for those crops if the land is good. And as we're going to see, the differences in crops, the differences in land are going to make huge differences within the cultures. The first culture that really took off with this was the Adena culture, which was around 800 BC to 100 AD. Basically, the Hopewells were a large group within this culture that basically they lived along the rich alluvial soils of the Mississippi River. And they had food, and they were huge into trade because everybody needs to eat. They built these large ornate cities, and they were basically mound builders. Like here, this is Serpent's Mound. It's a 1.4 mile long serpent. Why did they build it? We don't know. If you ask the Adena, because we could. But you also see they disappeared as a culture well before Europeans got here. Guys, Native Americans, they did trade together, but they also were at war with each other. Ready for the next slide? Now, as this whole thing continues to progress, you have the Mississippian culture, which was by far the most advanced culture in what would become the United States. And just like the Adena had, if you look at their sites, you'll find stuff from the East Coast as well as West Coast. Same thing with Chicoia. They even had found parrot feathers from Mexico. And once again, they had the best land. They too were mound builders. Their largest mound was a 450 foot tall Monk's Mound. Usually these were used as ceremonial areas. Right? Well, then we get to Texas. Well, see, guys, in the Mississippian culture, because they were doing so awesome, it was a very regimented society. It would be something like Highland Park. Okay? You're in Highland Park, you're making money, your wife or your husband, depending on who has the money, knows where their place is, what they can do. It's very restrictive, very controlled. Women do not have a lot of status in society. And needless to say, a lot of young people were like, hey, I want to go out and kind of break for myself. These guys became known as the Southeastern cultures. Basically, they went off the Mississippi and they went to the river systems of the Southeast. And here in Texas, okay, one of the groups that did that was the Caddo culture. Now, imagine you and your wife live, or your husband, you and your partner, live in Highland Park or University Park, because you're right on the edge there, but you want to get out and start your own city. So you tell your mate, hey, we're going to move up to Prosper. Have a huge house. And your wife is going to say, or your partner is going to say, well, that's nowhere near the shopping. So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to give her freedoms and let her say, okay, well, I tell you what, we're going to elevate you in society. We're going to listen to your opinions more. We're even going to allow you to be in like sitting councils. So the women actually got more freedom underneath the southeastern cultures than they did the Mississippian cultures. Then I go to you and I say, hey, come on, let's go. We're going to Prosper. And you're like, I'm doing fine here in University Park. No, come on, look, I'll make you one of my council members. Hey. Guys, remember when the recession was really bad? There were a lot of companies that couldn't afford to give raises. So what they do is instead of giving a raise, they give somebody a title. Like, let's say you work at Dairy Queen. Like, listen, I want to tell you, you'd say, come on, boss, can I get at least a quarter more an hour? Well, I'd really like to give that to you. But listen, I tell you what, I've noticed how much responsibility you've had back at that fry machine. I mean, every time we ask for fresh fries, boom, you're there. I'm going to make you the supervisor of the fry machine. Hey, I can put that on my Vita. All right. And so now all of a sudden it's like, hey, well, did you get what you wanted? Nah, but I'm the supervisor of the fry machine. Yeah, that's what the boss made me. So I give him a position in the council, and now he's going to move out to Prosper because it sounds like a good deal to him. And he convinces his wife or partner, he tells her, hey, you're going to have better, more respect and a better social position within Prosper, just like they did with the Caddo Indians. They too were, and guys, how many of y'all have been out in East Texas? What's everywhere in East Texas?
Land.
Well, what kind of land? Like, once you get out of it, like if you go even further east than, like around Nacogdoches, what surrounds Nacogdoches?
It's like forest.
Forest, pine forest. Okay? And guys, they had awesome land. They were near Highway 26. That's where Cattle Mountain State Park is. And they had great land. They fished, they hunted, they did all that. They traded extensively. But, guys, they had to be fierce warriors because other people wanted their land. Now, if you look at these guys, can't really tell it from here, but they were heavily tattooed. Now, guys, why do we wear tattoos today?
Say that again, please.
Huh?
Say that your question.
Yeah, why do people wear tattoos?
Looks good.
Huh?
Why people wear tattoos now?
Yeah.
They want to. It looks good.
Now, one, two, it looks good, but also it tells somebody else something about them. For example, if I had, Marissa, or some girl's name, I don't know anybody named Marissa, maybe I do, but it's a long time past, and I had nothing for her, I just knew her as a friend. But anyway, and you had like a heart broken, and blood going down. Well, that tells other people that, hey, there was someone named Marissa, and it was pretty important to him. These guys, they have to tattoo themselves. They tattooed like how many people they killed in battle, what god they worshiped, what member of tribe they were. They do it by taking part of a hip of a deer, put it over a fire,